Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're working. We had some technical problems at the beginning of the show, Danny Kelly, but I've got it all up and running right now. We got the crack staff of the technical directors behind us working hard at it. And the technical directors are my two dogs, my two labs lying at my feet. They're the ones that have got this thing up and running. Danny B. Kelly joins us now on Tuesdays throughout the NFL season. Danny, of course, senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Go check them out. Tap room open every single day, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Open to close. Do it, and they'll give you a free coaster. 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
Other than starting the show, Danny, have you ever done this? I'm sure you have. We've all done this if you're in this business.
Yeah.
Start of the show. I'm going on for about 10 minutes. I realize I'm not live.
No. Yeah, that's tough.
I realize that I'm not recording.
Yeah. No, we've definitely all been there before. I've done full hour and a half long podcasts and then realized that didn't get recorded. So then you have to start over. So yeah, that's pretty demoralizing. That's tough.
It is demoralizing. And it's, you know what it is more than anything? It's humiliating. And you've got your pooch in the background. What's your dog's name?
He's George. I'm hoping he doesn't get unsettled. Sometimes I talk too loud and he kind of just gets annoyed and tries to leave, but my door is shut. So he's stuck here.
Oh yeah. Well, sorry, George. What kind of is that? What do we got there?
He's a Great Pyrenees mix. So he's got some of the Great Pyrenees size. He's got really long, fluffy hair. And he's a guard dog. Their Great Pyrenees are, I think, livestock guardians or whatever. That's their job. So he just barks his face off if anybody comes to the house. Trying to train him to be a little more just chill, but it's not working so well so far. He doesn't bite.
They do their own things.
He doesn't bite, but he's got an intimidating bark. So yeah, but he's a great dog.
All right, let's jump into it. The breaking news that came out about 40 minutes ago, Nwosu on the injured reserve, done 4 games. Mike Garafolo just texted me and says he thinks it's going to be longer than the 4 games, not season ending, but we'll push past the 4 weeks. Just another blow to a defense that didn't need another blow.
Yeah, I know, because last week we had a little bit of optimism for the Seahawks coming off of that Lions game, but man, this is, like you said, this is just a defense that really can't afford to lose key playmakers like this. I just don't feel like they have the talent and the depth to really be able to weather that super well. We've seen that in the last 2 games. They've just been pretty bad on defense, really bad on defense the last couple of games. So it's pretty discouraging. Hopefully they can, get somebody else to step in and kind of to make a difference. Obviously getting Byron Murphy back, Boye Mafe back, that'll be helpful. But yeah, it's been pretty tough with the injury situation right now. And
I feel like, as someone who watched them as a fan of them, I'm mad at myself for allowing honestly, right, Danny, of allowing the overtime game against New England, and then it was a fun game Monday night against the Lions, to just blind me to the fact of the reality that I knew deep down inside was this defense really isn't that good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still encouraged and hopeful. I still am a Mike Macdonald fan in terms of, I think the future of the team, they're in good hands with him, but this is just a team that doesn't have the depth right now, I don't think, to be able to weather these types of injuries. And so, there's going to be ups and downs. I'm trying not to overreact too much because it's a long season. But obviously the defense has not looked solid the last couple of weeks. This is why we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. This is why having that 3-0 buffer was so important to start the season, because you're going to lose some stinkers too, right? And so there's good to get to that start. They're still in it. They're still a competitive team. Luckily, the NFC West is kind of a mess right now, so I'm not despairing at this point in time. I think the defense does need to improve a lot, though. They're just basic stuff. It's the type of thing you can fix, like tackling, and getting into gaps, and basically, if you look at the Lions game, especially, there's just guys run right through the line. So hopefully they can coach them up and get some improvement. I'm not hoping that there'll be an elite defense, but maybe just get back up into the 20s or something like that in terms of rank. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for the rest of the season.
Well, and I am not I think I saw something yesterday on Twitter where people were I don't know if people were actually calling for him to be fired, or people were just
after
making that
games.
making that up just for some, to make themselves feel better. I don't know. I haven't heard anyone say they should get rid of Mike Macdonald.
No,
I do not want to get rid of him. I like him. I think he's a good coach, and I'm with you. I think it's the much better days are ahead, and I think it was probably too much of a task to fix this defense overnight. It's going to take some time,
right?
Especially with the communication stuff, right? It's more intricate than I think people realize about all the communication that goes on with these guys. Play after play. I mean, he's changing stuff on the fly, Danny.
Yeah. Whole new program, whole new system. There's going to be, wrinkles with everything. They got to work the kinks out. This is, in any first season with a new head coach and new entire coaching staff, there's going to be stumbles along the way, I feel like. And so it's not super surprising. Obviously, it was a really ugly game. Seahawks should have beat the Giants at home. That's 100% clear. I saw a lot of people. I don't think I saw anybody calling for Mike Macdonald to be fired, but I did see quite a few people who were like, if this was a Pete Carroll defense, like, wouldn't we be pissed about this? Like, maybe this isn't like the quick fix that we thought it was, which is probably true. I'm still encouraged by the pressure rate that they've been able to generate. There's definitely some like small nuanced things I think that are really exciting, but yeah, ultimately, he wasn't going to transform the defense overnight probably. And so we're starting to see that.
Yeah, Danny. And I think what happened is that I think the especially two of the first three games, it really blinded a lot of people to think how good they were defensively.
Sure.
Right? Bo Nix making his debut wasn't going to look good. And then Sean Payton didn't put him in any place to really make any plays. And then you get Miami, and they're without Tua Tagovailoa, and we know they just look completely different.
Yeah.
Right? They look awful. And so I think you see that, and then for some reason, the New England game, you kind of buried the New England game. And
there were some red flags.
Oh, there was a lot of red flags. I went over it today. I mean, Steven, they had 185 yards on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I looked at this. For New England, who's god-awful? That's the most points they've scored this year. That's the most total yards they've had this year. And that's the most rushing yards they've had this year. Which is just like, that just...
It's not great.
No, and that's the game I keep going back to. But I think we've said no. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to reference the Patriots game. We bury that deep down inside because they won the game.
I think some of the things that people were legitimately worried about coming into the season are starting to rear their ugly head. The lack of depth and talent at the linebacker position, and in particular, I saw the fellas Robert Mays and Derek Clausen talking about this on the Athletic show. Basically, when you have some injury situations happening on the front line, the defensive line like the Seahawks are having right now, you lose some of your studs up front. That makes it so the linebackers have to do more. They have to actually step up and really make some big time plays, because you don't have those guys in front, like kind of eating up blocks and taking on double teams and really doing a good job keeping the linebackers clean. Like, when you lose depth up front, it's a chain reaction type of deal. And I think the lack of depth, lack of talent, lack of impact players at linebacker position is really, it's a big problem right now. And it affects, the front line, the lack of talent at the front line, or I guess the lack of depth on the front line affects the secondary. Like, it's all a chain reaction. It's all connected, and you're starting to see it's affecting all three levels, basically. I think the injury situation on the front line, and it was a tenuous situation coming into the year with no established very good linebackers, and I think that's been a huge problem, especially against the run. They've just been getting gashed on the ground, which is really discouraging, because that was like one thing I really was hoping would get fixed this year. I think the lack of tackling and just lack of discipline that we saw the last couple of years with the Seahawks, Pete Carroll Seahawks, is like really a bummer. And and after the first few games, I was like, yeah, this is actually looking pretty good. But again, it's a long season. We're going to go through ups and downs. Hopefully they can clean things up and marginally improve on defense, and continue to compete, because I think the offense is still really good.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, right? Because we will overreact to what the offense did on Sunday, and okay, they didn't look good either. I mean, they couldn't. I mean, Ken Walker can't get 5 carries. It's just there should be, right, Danny? There should be no game where Ken Walker, one of your best offensive players and obviously your best running back, touches the ball 5 times.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a learning process there for Ryan Grubb.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's the other thing I saw kind of on Twitter after the game is like, oh, college offensive coordinator again. Like, this is what we got. I'm still pretty encouraged at the end of the day for the offense. Clearly not a perfect situation in this last game. But again, like we talked about this after the Detroit game, I actually was pretty encouraged. They fought back at the end. Yeah. They put themselves in a position to tie the game. Very late, obviously giving up that block punt or block field goal was brutal. But I don't know. I still am very encouraged by the offense. I think the offense has a ton of talent. Lockett has been balling out. DK Metcalf, for the most part, has been really good, other than these like really dramatic mistakes he's been making, which is obviously extremely frustrating. But like, I thought from a pure details point of view, he's done really, really well in all the other areas, except for those huge mistakes that he's made. The 2 fumbles have been brutal. Yeah. But I don't know. And then Kenneth Walker looks like an all-pro. So and obviously Gino's been playing really well too. So I'm still really encouraged with the offense. I think they're going in the right direction. And this was just an ugly ass game.
I think that the people that jump on DK and criticize DK have just never liked DK Metcalf.
Right. Right. He's a Rorschach test, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes, he is.
Because the lack of discipline, the fumbles is extremely frustrating. It feels like every week there's at least like one kind of big mistake that people hang on. And it's really frustrating. He reminds me a little bit of Sean Kemp, because like the highs are extremely, extremely high. Awesome player, physical marvel, some of the biggest highlight plays you can imagine. But then frustrated. I remember being frustrated with him for fouling out. It was like
out a lot.
Drives me insane how often he would foul out, and he like never seemed to like care about or try to change. And so I think I'm kind of like in that same vein. I'm like, DK, dude, can you start to be like a little more disciplined? Like, please, for the love of God. I mean,
what
your defender.
I can't understand is how he fumbles with those arms.
He's
like
so big and strong.
They're just, I mean, you see it. Like, how does someone fumble when you're built like the way he's built?
Look, maybe he needs to have a little more Lockett in him. Let's be honest.
Just go down,
catch the ball, and fall down.
Well, then those who are mad, because I love when people get so mad at Lockett. Why is he going down?
It's hilarious, honestly.
Oh God! And now I think he does it a lot more just to troll people.
He does like the tumbleweed thing. He turns into a tumbleweed, just starts rolling. Stop, drop, and roll. He's got some like fire safety like programming needs to get him to do an ad. Stop, drop, and roll. But yeah, the DK Metcalf thing. It's been he's a Jekyll and Hyde type of character, obviously in Seahawks land. I think like
I love him. Polarizing.
Yeah, I love him. I think he's an elite talent, but. And I've been a defender of his for like forever, but I'm like, dude, can you please stop giving your detractors reasons to like get on you about this stuff? Like, stop fumbling, stop having these really annoying penalties, and he'll finally be able to ascend to like that elite status. Because I think talent wise, physical wise, like he's there, and he's made some incredible moves, some incredible plays this year. But yeah, it's tough.
Well, and then he'll be tested on Thursday, right? Because this is the one team, Danny, that they know, and I guarantee that Shanahan and their defense are showing this tape all week long as they get ready for the game. Yep.
It's the Sean Kemp thing again. I'm 100%. Telling you. It's like get Rodman out there and try and like piss him off, get him to foul out, get him to do techs, Yep. So yeah, a lot of similarities there. I'm sure 100% sure they're going to bait him. And they talked about that the last time I think they played. Of course. And honestly, it's a good plan. It's a good plan on their part.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can get under someone's skin and make them and take them out of their game, then you win. And they've been able to do that with him. And that's like his next step. And to follow up your point, that's his next step, is that he's got to learn how to not let people do that to him.
Yeah.
That's a hard one though. I'd say this game of football, right? Like all sports, but especially football, is so much emotion in it. And he has
primal.
A heart.
It's like it's like warfare. I mean, these guys are going out there and putting their bodies on the line. They're, people like when we're watching it, we have no idea. People that have never played football or at a high level have no idea. And that's me. I have no idea what these guys are going through.
I think we do this daily, don't you think? I mean, I think when I think of what we do, Danny, it's primal.
Same thing.
It's a lot of war. We're battling the trolls out there. It is warfare
for sure. It's totally no different at all than what these guys are doing. This guy's 230 pounds. He can run a 4.3. There's no difference between us, really.
He is unbelievable. What do we make of the Robert Saleh firing? Does Aaron Rodgers just make himself the coach, or how does that work?
I mean, he essentially is the coach, right? Like, he's a player coach. It's like the old school baseball where you got like the manager is also a player.
Pete Rose back in the day.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Like, I think he's kind of Robert Saleh is the first in what could be a line of coaches like sacrificial lambs if the Jets don't start playing better and start winning games. The Jets are pot committed to Aaron Rodgers at this point, and he's not been playing well. Like, if you look at the offense, I think I saw this today. Through 5 games, the Jets had the exact same number of points last year with Zach Wilson than they do this year, and that's obviously not what you want, considering we just spent the last year being like, oh, things will change when they get Rodgers back. It'll be better when they get Rodgers back. I think I saw Eric Mangini or somebody said this the other day, like, because Woody Johnson is like an ambassador to the UK or was an ambassador to the UK. Like,
I saw that.
The loss in London, he like predicted this. Like, if they lose in London, it's going to be heads will roll because he's like talking to all his friends in England and he's like all embarrassed about what's happening. It's just hilarious that this would be like the impetus for this. But yeah.
And then I read where he wasn't his hire because he was the ambassador to UK, that it was made by, I don't know if it was his brother or another relative that was the one who hired Robert Saleh because he wasn't truly the owner at the time. Like, I find that hard to believe, but whatever.
Like you don't have a phone, you can't call,
you can't
email,
you can't tell them.
Yeah,
hey,
come on.
I don't think he's the guy. We should try to hire somebody else.
Kind of an important decision.
Here's who I want. I want a reunion. I want Belichick.
Would he do that would he play for the Jets or as coach for the Jets, I should say?
Why not? I don't know.
I mean, obviously, yes, they should do that. But I feel like there's just so much bad blood.
Too much bad blood? What about Pete Carroll? How about a Pete Carroll reunion?
See, I can see that happening.
Smacking his gum, the two gloves, the blonde hair. Bring him back, Pete. Let's go.
Heck yeah. Man, but yeah, like the Jets are just right now. Joe Douglas is just his seat's getting hot. So they gotta figure this thing out. They gotta start winning. Offensively, the funny thing is, like, Nathaniel Hackett would be like the obvious guy to fire, but like he's Rodgers' guy.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's a mess. They got to start winning, or else people are going to get fired. Joe Douglas probably next to on the list.
How about they just hire John Gruden? Let's bring John Gruden. Can John Gruden come back to the NFL yet?
Did you see his TikTok?
Oh, Danny. I got it just for you.
Oh, good.
I'm going to play it for you because I don't know if people have seen this yet.
When I was calling plays, I just loved it when our quarterback
watch this. This is
defense. I mean, just ripped them. That's what has me feeling really nicey. Like watching Jared Goff go 18 for 18.
Watch. He starts getting really weird here in a second.
I couldn't do that pregame warm-up.
Look at this. What is wrong with him?
Jaden Daniels, just a rookie. 26
Danny,
out of
what is he on?
87%, 231
What is he not
yards.
on?
He rushes.
How many drugs do you think he's on right now?
He's doing everything.
Just coursing through his veins.
Watch this.
CJ Stroud, 345 yards.
Do you think the line of cocaine is to the right of the computer or to the left of the computer?
Just in the foreground, just before the camera.
Baker Mayfield, coming off a tough loss.
I mean, look how he's sweating. I mean,
He's in the dark.
He's in the dark. He's not wearing. He's probably not wearing pants.
Sam Darnold.
Dang it!
Thought the Vikings would be.
He's like a sensation on TikTok.
Go to Lambeau Field and win again, baby.
I want to make fun of him, but
I like it.
Deep down, I'm kind of jealous. that he's good at making content right here. This is how you do it.
That's what I
mean, he literally went viral with this stuff.
I know. That's what everybody said is like, oh, there you go. That's what everyone said is like, God, why is he so much better at this than I am? I've heard that from a lot of people.
Seriously, it's wild. I mean, look, at some point, if you want to get big on the internet, you kind of have to have no shame.
Man.
And I feel like Gruden's like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna freaking go. I'm just gonna do a full send on this TikTok.
So entertained by that. All right, before you we cut you loose, we need to know, since it's Tuesday, and Tuesday is always a big day for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Danny's Waiver Wire Tuesday. All right, I want to know who's in, who's out. Who does Danny Kelly like?
All right, so at running back, we got Tank Bigsby for the Jags, who basically has looked like the best running back in the NFL. Full stop. I don't know what's going on because he was the worst running back in the NFL last year. Something happened. Maybe they should do the Gruden drug test on him. But yeah, he's great. I think Tyrone Tracy we saw from the Seahawks game is a good ad for the Giants, and then Trey Sermon for the Colts. If Jonathan Taylor is still out another week, which I think he could be, he's another guy to add. And then at receiver, I want to issue an apology because a couple weeks ago, you had a listener who asked me about Darnell Mooney, and I was like, you could probably do better. Look, I was wrong on that. I'm going to own that. I did not think they were going to make Darnell Mooney the 1B. Right in line with Drake London in this offense, and I was wrong. NFL teams do weird stuff every year, and this is one of the weirder ones. But Darnell Mooney, absolutely got to add him if you haven't already. And again, I apologize for your listener for that piece of bad advice. But he's looked great, and weirdly, they're making him like a huge focus in this offense. He's got a 24% target rate on the season. Drake London has a 26% target rate, so he's like 1A and 1B in that offense. If he's gone, Jalen Tolbert is another guy that's, I think, on the uptick right now. You got Brandon Cooks and he's on the Cowboys. You got Brandon Cooks on IR. Tolbert has emerged as like the number 2. It's looking like Dak has quite a bit of trust in him. Double-digit points in 3 out of the last 4 games. So I think he's like starting to emerge as like a clear-cut number 2 for the Cowboys. And then Josh Downs for the Colts. He's a little bit dependent on Joe Flacco being the quarterback, which I think they're probably going to go back to Anthony Richardson. And
should they go back to him?
I don't know. Honestly, this is something we talked about on our pod this week. Like in any given season, only like 7 teams are actually trying to win. And I feel like if the Colts were actually trying to win, they would just keep going with Puckett. They would keep going.
They go with me. I'm a hell of a quarterback.
They would keep going with Flacco because, I mean, look. He's been awesome. If you look at like what he's done the last like 2 years.
He's incredible, Danny. He keeps doing it.
I was kind of a hater for a while there with Flacco, and I'm like, the whole elite thing was like tongue in cheek. I'm like, dude, this guy's good. Get him out there, especially at the state of the NFL right now where, teams are forcing quarterbacks to kind of dink and dunk. Like he's still pushing the ball downfield. He's like, I don't know, man. There's something there. You know who he'd be good on this year? The Browns. I don't understand why they.
It'd be great on the Browns. I mean, Watson is done.
He's toast.
He's just not the same player. That's one of the worst. I mean, will go down as one of the worst trades in NFL history.
All time.
Whether they had 12 guys in the field or not, him walking towards the sideline where the game's on the line,
right,
it just was a bad look, and it just
the vibes are atrocious. They're in the basement. And then finally, Juju Smith-Schuster for the Chiefs. Kind of surprised me. This is like the first time he's had 130 yards in a game since like 2020 or something like that. It's been a while. And so, but he looked pretty good playing that Rashee Rice role. Obviously, he's not Rashee Rice, but he looked pretty good on running those crossing routes. Had 8 targets. I think he could, and he should have had a touchdown. And he bobbled it, and it led to an interception. That was a fun play. But yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to kind of inherit a pretty big role in this offense. And they don't really have anything else.
And the Kareem Hunt comeback too.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. That was one of my guys from last week in terms of the waiver wire, and he's looked really good. He's sort of emerged as their starter. Carson Steele can't stop fumbling the football. So yeah, I mean, the Chiefs. There's some opportunity here with the waiver wire because of the injuries that they've gone under. So yeah, I like Kareem Hunt. I like Juju a little. I don't love Juju Smith-Schuster just because he just doesn't have it what he used to have, but there's a lot of opportunity right now for him.
All right.
And then tight ends, just I don't know.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. There's no good tight ends in the NFL. So
I was going to ask you because the former Husky, Cade Otton's kind of been playing better of late, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's one of my guys. In fact, he has a 20% target rate over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He has more catches than anyone on the team over the last 3 weeks. He's not like creating explosive plays, but he's established himself as sort of like the security blanket underneath. In a season when no tight ends are producing big numbers, you kind of have to take what you can get. And Cade Otton at least is getting targets and playing time. So he's definitely a guy to keep in mind. Colby Parkinson, former Seahawk, another guy to keep in mind. They're on a bye this week. The Rams are, but he has a 26% target rate this season. So, this last 3 weeks, and he has definitely emerged as another guy that Matt Stafford just trusts him. He's underneath guy. 13 targets in the last game. So again, beggars can't be choosers. These aren't great options, but it's better than nothing. So
there he is, folks. Danny Kelly. Follow him on Twitter, Danny B. Kelly, senior staff writer, Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show. Tell them where they can watch, where they can listen to all of your programming there at the Ringer.
Yeah, the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. We have 4 shows a week: Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In fact, we have a live show that goes on tonight on YouTube at 3:45 p.m. YouTube. It's kind of like a preview to our Wednesday show. So if you want to watch that live, go to YouTube. Check that out, Ringer YouTube. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. It's all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by Manny and Roger, 2 diehard Huskies. They've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhi, Zaffa, of course, Lucille, Rogers, all of your favorite beers. Tap room open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. In case you missed any of this, it'll be up on YouTube later. Also, check it out on the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, and, of course, pucksports.com. Danny, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good.